both of us have a very old school mindset of what music should be like. And now we're trying to adapt to a very modern, very tech world.
Yeah.
And the thing I was just asking you about, because I've got a clear picture of when I think of musical branding, I think of like the old school rock and roll t-shirts and, CDs and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Do you get a similar picture?
I think so. I think, especially where I started listening to music with the 70s, the branding was just so iconic. You've got all these fantastic logos. You've got the Rolling Stones tongue, the AC/DC lightning bolt, the Led Zeppelin symbols, the Queen ensign, whatever the hell that is, the Pink Floyd, all of their imagery. It's almost it's a tribal thing, with that. And I feel like that can still continue. But it's become so saturated, oversaturated, I think, that you lose some of that iconography, because there's so many more players in the game and there's just so much out there that it loses its meaning a little bit, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so in terms of like old school musicians, there's so much in like band t-shirts and stuff. You still see people wearing
Definitely.
Metallica shirts. You go into literally clothing for like 13, 14-year-old girls. They're still selling Metallica t-shirts and that branding, right?
Yeah.
So, you go.
Well, which I think is a good thing.
Absolutely.
And you look at the Metallica scene that they had in Stranger Things.
Yeah.
With Eddie on the Master of Puppets, that whole thing.
Yeah.
And some people are like, oh, boo hoo hoo, gatekeeping and whatever. But it's a good thing to get that out there to younger people.
Yeah, gatekeeping. What's that?
People are like, we're Metallica fans. You're not Metallica fans.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I do know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is interesting with the younger people and the shirts especially. Now, I'm an old school AC/DC fan to a fault. And I used to walk around counting how many AC/DC shirts I'd see in a day, just because I thought it was fun. And I still subconsciously do that sometimes. And the amount of old school shirts that you still see compared to, I don't really see like a Billie Eilish shirt or a Lady Gaga shirt or Miley Cyrus or, who else is around at the moment?
Absolutely. And when you do, it'll be like Miley Cyrus tour 2024.
Yeah, like exactly.
They're super modern.
And even the old guard, like the old boys will wear them. The young people will wear them, like the old school shirts.
Yes.
Which is interesting because I think it still holds that icon status.
Yeah.
You look at even just old band logos and you feel something. I don't necessarily feel that. For whatever reason. It just doesn't evoke the same emotion,
Do you know why?
I don't.
No idea.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah.
Maybe because everyone's so desensitized. Could be. To just the barrage of content that we have.
I was thinking about this in great detail over the last couple of days. Specifically the band shirt thing, because band shirts, people wear a shirt because it shows what are my values and what do I believe in.
Yeah.
And I think more than anything, old school bands used to really, like, with the help of a record label and marketing and everything like that, they would get a very clear, like, this is who we are, AC/DC, rock and roll, we are misfits, we are, like, how would you describe AC/DC?
How would I describe? How does one describe a sunrise?
Beautiful.
Synthesized rock and roll. Everybody, just every element of rock and roll, squeezed the juice out of it and chucked it into a school uniform. Like it's just energy,
Also energy. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
What about like AC/DCs? When you think of AC/DC, what is apart from what that music sounds like, what else does that brand say?
Um, Sorry, it's been such a big part of my life for such a long time. It's hard to bring it down to a couple of words. Um, the brand, it says it just says I'm cool, man. You know,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
like I'm cool and I don't care what you think. Like that's kind of what it is. You know?
I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go against the flow. I love energy. Like waking up in the morning and jumping in the car and blasting Back in Black. It's an energizing feeling.
Yes. Yes.
And they obviously nailed the whole world of AC/DC, the whole, like, their name is literally electrical currents.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
they've, from literally their name to their branding to the logo,
Mm-hmm.
kind of looks like everything's kind of sharp like a lightning bolt.
Yeah.
The whole package is electricity.
It feels dangerous. Yeah. You know, and that's cool.
That fits and that ties so well into that misfit, like, rebellious, like, have a fight with someone, pub rock style.
Yeah.
Like, even though AC/DC is not necessarily, I don't think of violence when I think of
No,
it.
no.
I definitely think of energy.
No, but it's a joy.
Absolutely.
It's an expression of joy. I can't help but smile when I hear it, and when I see the old videos, I just can't help but smile. You know,
Absolutely.
it's just watching people just give it everything that they've got, leave every drop of everything out there, and there's a great joy and beauty to that. You know?
Absolutely. So here's my next line of thinking.
Okay.
This is what makes social media hard, because there's this stigma of you've got to post every single day and you've got to do the things, but you've got to make sure that everything that you're posting is on brand.
Yeah, that's true.
So AC/DC, it's like back in that era, I'd imagine it feels like it would have been easy to get a really strong brand and message across when you don't have to show, hey guys,
Yeah,
I'm Angus Young.
Yeah.
I'm practicing my guitar parts
Yeah.
in my bedroom right now.
yeah. But I mean, that sort of thing, like you'd still see on Countdown, you know, and it's
sure.
like between the clips, and it's like, hey guys, we're the boys, and you're listening to our new clip, Jailbreak. You know, that type
Absolutely,
of thing.
yeah.
But it wasn't.
It's the thing that I think makes that still work is they're on a TV set.
Yeah.
They're on, like, that. They're in this thing that gives them all this status.
Yeah.
And the thing that I've found as a musician, especially I feel like rock and roll has this big picture brand. Like, it's rock and roll is, like, we were talking about the other day. We were trying to shoot. We were like, okay, where do we go for a location of we're playing our music? Because sitting in a house while playing rock music that's all lit up and and plants everywhere, and it's not really on brand.
Yeah.
Whereas, an indie band on social media, if they're playing in a grungy, underneath some fucking dirty house, there's beers and shit everywhere, that's super on brand.
Yeah.
So I find it's that the hardest part for me personally is making sure that every little bit of content that we're putting out is aligned with the image and the brand that we're trying to create of who we are.
Right. True.
Is that something you've struggled with?
Possibly. I don't know.
Something
because
you thought of?
Yeah, it has. I've definitely thought of I don't want to post that because it seems odd, or it's not representative of us. But at the same time, most of just what we post on Instagram and Facebook is gig posters, band shots, and gig videos.
Absolutely.
Like, just here's what we get. It's like, this is who we are. This is what we're gonna do. This is what we've done, sort of thing. And we've tried to dip our toes into the content type thing where we did Caravan plays TV themes.
Yep.
Part 1. And that's as far as we got. Was part of it. We did that 70s show theme, and then we were going to do all these other different TV shows, and we just didn't.
It feels hard and cringe.
Yeah, a little bit. So, and there's still a part of me that thinks that people will just see you for who you are. They'll see your content, or they'll just see your page. They'll see you on stage, more so on stage rather than on the phone, and they'll hear your music and they'll just know, and they'll relate to it through that kind
Yeah.
of thing, and you'll find your people that way, rather than like there's still a part of me that thinks that the masses will come to you, and that can be a very delusional, thing, especially in this day and age. Even back in the day, everybody had somebody on their side. Everybody had someone pushing them, and now people have to do that themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of like a blessing and a curse,
Mm.
right? Because you're everything that you've said, I completely agree with. And the thing that's back in the day that would have made it hard is you would have had to do the grind yourself until you were lucky enough for someone to notice you. And then you had this whole team, and you had a record label, and you had that team.
Yep.
Which is like, oh shit. Imagine if we still had that today. Like, if the world still worked like that, it'd be so much easier. But then it's like, well, no, you still would have had to,
Yeah.
to stand out and do that grind.
Yeah.
But then, so that's kind of why it feels like a curse. But
Mm.
as a blessing, it's more in our control as an artist now.
That's true. You can control the narrative a little bit. Well, just on your official pages,
Yeah.
you can choose exactly.
Well, it's
Well,
on
it is.
us.
Yeah,
It's on
yeah.
us now.
Yeah, which makes it hard because if you're not doing it, it doesn't get done.
Absolutely.
But you were touching on luck before, which I find very interesting, because it is luck, being in the right place at the right time. But there's a lot to be said about putting yourself in the right place at the right time.
Absolutely.
Manufacturing those opportunities, and because luck can be manufactured, I believe. You just have to read between the lines, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've had experience with that?
I think so. Yeah, definitely. Even just so I grew up in Kilcoy.
Yep.
There's not really many places to play music out there. I used to go to Woodford Bowls Club of a Thursday night for an event called Jam It. All these fantastic musicians out there: Norm, Kev, Bill, Chaz. All those guys were just brilliant. And their lead guitarist, Bill Payne, was absolutely insane on the guitar. Just brilliant. I just watch him in awe as like a 18-year-old, and anyway, he left the house band at this open mic sort of thing, and I ended up stepping in. And I learnt so much there that I could never learn in my bedroom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you can learn as much as you want, but until you're on stage in these situations, it's just not, it's not the same.
Yeah.
And then putting myself in that situation, being there at the right place at the right time got me that position in the house band. And then that's also how I met Ben, who's the drummer for Caravan, and a very good man. Love you, Ben. And then I started going to open mics in Brisbane, and meeting all these other people, which is also sort of how we started gigging in the Valley, and how I met just everybody in my network, sort of thing. Is just getting to these places, being in the right place at the right time, not waiting for it to come to me.
Absolutely.
I once had someone tell me that the only difference between he and I was a good internet connection. And what he meant by that is we would rehearse in my place, and it's like, hey, let's learn a song. Okay, let's just look it up online, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, geez, I wish I could do that. And it's like, okay, well, even before we had a good internet connection, I would go into the library in town, look it up, print out the chords, bring them home. Before I had a license, I would get on the bus and go do that, So it's like, it's about putting yourself in those places to create those opportunities.
Absolutely.
Rather than just sitting back and being grumpy about it, which I'm guilty of. I do
Yeah.
that. I do that a lot.
Yeah.
But I try to break myself out of it as much as I can.
There is so much in what you just said. It's so huge. It's so important, right?
Yeah.
Because so many people kind of just sit there and wait for it to happen to them. And they kind of like what you were talking about before with the whole masses thing, like, just part of us expects the masses to just come to us
Yeah.
when we post one reel
Yeah.
of us playing on a stage.
Yeah.
And so many people on an even bigger level are almost, and I guess maybe it's being scared of trying, being scared of putting all this energy into something
Yeah. Yeah.
and not actually receiving
Yeah. That's yeah.
because the thing that makes, I guess, us different is we're tenacious. So it doesn't matter how many times that, for me personally, how many times that you don't get the result that you're after, or how many times that you struggle. We just love the journey.
That's the thing. You got to remember why you started.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
What it was that made you want to pick up a guitar and jump on a stage, and whether or not you had something to say, or whether or not you just had something inside you that needed to come out, or whatever it was, you got to hold on to that.
Yeah. So what would you say some of the best opportunities that you capitalized on are?
Okay, so when you guys opened for Wolfmother at the Triffid in 2020, I was in the front row and had my hair as big as it could go.
Yep.
And Mr. Stockdale had a cold that night and called me up to sing on a song, which was just an absolute dream come true. Just this crazy opportunity.
Everyone lost their mind. It was crazy.
It was wild, man. And then after that, I remember posting that video. Everybody thought it was cool. And then he played a solo show in Northlakes at a brewery in Northlakes, and I went to see that, and I put my business card under his windshield wiper.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I was sitting there just front row, just like, watching him do his thing, and he goes, "Hey, you're the guy that jumped up at the Triffid." And I was like, yeah. And then so I sort of talked to him that way, and then put my business card under his windshield wiper. Whether or not he actually got that, I don't know. But then when they announced their tour a little later, I jumped straight on that, and I messaged the Instagram accounts and emailed, and like every avenue I had to contact them, I did. And then he got back and said, "Come play some shows with us." So that was a big one, being in the right place at the right time, but putting myself there.
Absolutely.
And so the first one at your show was luck.
Yep.
A genetic lottery, if you will.
But also you had the courage to get up on the stage.
Yeah. That's
You could have been like, oh no, I don't want to get up. Wait, did you? How did that interaction happen? Did you put your hand up? Or?
No. I was just there, rocking out. I knew most of the words, so I was just singing along, and it just kind of kept coming over to me in the crowd, like interacting.
Yeah.
And I was just giving that energy back, from an audience perspective. And then he pointed and sort of did one of these, and he said, "Let's get Andrew to sing some words." And so
that's it.
That's all that was. So that was a very lucky thing, but also being prepared.
Absolutely.
Yeah, being prepared when that luck does happen is a big part of it.
If you got up on stage and you didn't nail it, because I remember we were there, and he did have a cold, so he wasn't singing at his best.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing the difference, because I don't think I was in the room when you got up on stage. I think I was out, grabbing a beer, and then I just heard this voice, and I was like, "What's that?" And I came in, and you were like literally, and just the way that you sing, you sound so much like him as well. It was like, whoa! It was it was a massive moment.
It's quite funny because before that, I shied away from singing Wolfmother songs, because I always just approached them with a sense of fear. Like, I couldn't do it. Like, no, that's way too high. I can't sing that. I cannot sing that way. So that was the first time I ever...
Is New Moon Rising? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. That was sort of the one I was forced to realize I could do it, kind of thing. Yeah.
Because it's up there too.
Yeah. It's like shit or get off the pot,
Yeah.
So that was a pretty cool one.
Awesome. And then so that relationship, you played a few shows with them.
Yep. We went around just on their little tour in 2022. Yeah, got to open for them a few times, and then just seeing them around the traps.
Yeah.
And whatnot.
100%.
Yeah, it was good. It was very, very good.
Any other opportunities?
I know what you're talking about. You're talking about. I'm not going to go into full detail, but yeah. So one night the phone rang, and I had the opportunity to go to Europe to join them on tour, and that was a bit of a crazy, crazy moment because it was, hey, do you want to do this? You got to be at the airport in 2 hours. Okay. And it was, and I sort of, I had, you know, like 10 minutes to think about it. I called my fiance, actually, I think she was still my girlfriend at the time, but I called her up and I said, what do you think of this? She said, you got to do it. And then I called some other people and they said, you got to do it.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then it wasn't until I got on the plane that I sort of realized what I'd agreed to. And then it was like, okay. And, you know, and I was like, I was just at home watching the TV, you know, an hour ago, and now I'm on a plane to Europe. And if you ever see me in person, I will tell you the full story. I'm not, but yeah, all in all, it didn't end up working out, and I came home without having played any shows. But it was just one of those times where it was like I didn't know until I knew, if that makes sense. Like I didn't want to not know, I guess is more to the point. Didn't want to wonder what would have happened if I did not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's taking that opportunity, right?
yeah, and that's what I mean. Being prepared when opportunity does strike.
Yeah. A lot of people would say no.
Yeah, or when the opportunity does call, they don't always leave a message. So take the call.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Yeah. It's crazy because it's so funny how that moment of, you know, just being in the right place at the right time at the show, get called up on stage, play shows with them, an opportunity to go to the other side of the world with them, and then who knows, you know, what other opportunities might pop up.
That's
track
right.
as well, right? The story is not over.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. There's a whole lot. Yeah, the journey is just beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. I don't know when it started, but it's you know.
Absolutely. And so put Wolfmother on hold.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is like, what other peaks would you say you've had on your journey?
I'd say just being. I always wanted to hold my own music in my hands. So when we released our album on CD, you know, we put it out there, and I got to hold my physical copy.
Was this Caravan?
With Caravan.
Yeah.
It's Caravan. Yeah. Yeah, we released our album in 2022. Yeah. And that was just great because we produced that all ourselves. All these songs that we'd written at home and then recorded at home. And it took us a couple times to record it, you know, because we were doing it ourselves and learning as we went. When it finally came out, it was just, you know, like 2 years in the making sort of thing. It was just brilliant to hold this, regardless of what anyone else thought, because, you know, it was just like, I'm so proud of this little booklet and these 8 songs. That's, you know, that was definitely a peak for me. Yeah.
It is. I remember our first, we did just getting the pick, like, you know, what style of CD you're going to put it on. We did the one, so for the first Therapist to EP, we had like one of the, you know, you go all in, you get a really nice looking, we got one of the soft folio ones.
Yeah.
It's you, and you know, you're doing the design, you're putting the track listing on.
Yeah.
It's a full experience.
Yeah.
And it does make that 13, 12-year-old version of yourself just really proud.
Very much so, yeah. But it's also just little moments that we get from here from time to time. We played a show at Tomcat recently, and there was this girl in the crowd singing along, singing the words, and I was like, to my songs, which was just crazy, you know?
Yeah.
And then one time at Rick's, this fellow named Jack came up and we were talking, and he was just telling me how much he enjoyed the album and referencing songs and referencing lyrics, and I was like, this is so cool.
Yep.
Or seeing someone wear my T-shirt, it's like just these little moments of yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, these sort of surreal out of body moments, almost like oh, I am doing this,
Yeah.
and people are enjoying it, even if I don't always see it, even if I don't get the numbers to say that I'm doing it. People are enjoying it.
Yeah. Did you always know that this is what you wanted to do?
Oh, I don't know. I've done so many things, and I always say the best and worst thing that someone could have done was pay me to play music, because it's been fantastic, but it's also been a grind. Um, I remember, I remember being hanging out with my mate when we were like 8 or 9 years old, pretending to write songs. We were writing songs; they were just terrible. And then picking up my brother's guitar and giving it a strum, not knowing what I was doing. So I think there were always seeds there, and I played saxophone in school. Everybody played the recorder as well. But sorry, this is I just
took you back.
yeah, man. I feel like I just got a flashback.
Let's go on the journey.
Short answer, yes. Short answer, yes. I think I always knew.
What was the moment that you were like? So obviously this was all setting seeds by the sound of it. What was the moment? Tell me about that moment. The worst. You just mentioned it was the worst thing ever, getting paid to do music.
Yeah.
It was a blessing and a curse. Where's that? What's the story there?
Well, because it was like, okay, I could do this.
How long ago was this?
That my very first paid show was in 2016. We were just Caravan was just jamming in the garage, screwing around, trying to get it going, but just finding our feet, sort of thing.
Yeah.
With our old bass player Kane in his place, and Ben and myself, just working out who we were and where our influences met in the middle, kind of thing. And then somebody said, "Hey, do you want to come play at my birthday party?" And Gavin Solquist was his name, and he has a boxing gym, and we played in his boxing ring, which was cool. He had all the gear set up in there, and he said, "What do you want for it?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know, man. Like, you're a friend, you're just up the road, like $60 each, something like that." And we played 3 sets,
Yeah.
And he's like, "Are you sure that's what you want?" I was like, "Yeah, man. It's just music, whatever. It's just a bit of fun." And then he did, and then we were like, "Oh man, okay, I've actually got proof. I've got something in my hands that I've worked for. I think I want to keep doing that. I like that feeling, And then the first gig we played in the Valley was at Rick's, and we got paid $200 to do that. They used to pay cash for that. I don't know if I was supposed to say that or not. And so
Cut it out.
yeah. So and we got that, and then we bought T-shirts with it straight away, and made our money back on that really quick. So it was like just this really cool feeling to get paid for what you're doing, and then realizing that some people don't pay as much as you'd like. But then, having said before that I only asked for $60 each from the first guy, it was like, and this is something I'm still struggling with, is valuing yourself, and finding how much you are realistically worth, and then going a little further, playing the game a little bit. And I hate talking about money to anybody, but it's part of the game.
Yeah. Why do you hate talking about money?
Because I have to put a value on myself and my services, but then I also have to remember that it's not just me, it's everybody. So like the Midnight Sound Machine, for example, Nick and Saro and Matt and Stu, fantastic musicians, incredible musicians, and I'm very blessed to share a stage with them. And I always just have to remind myself that it's not just me, it's them. It's not just my experience that these people are paying for, it's all of their experience that they're paying for. And the equipment and the work that they've put in all together And the five of us, the amount of years that we've put into it now is like there's decades of experience
Yeah,
just there.
50 years.
Yeah, yeah. So now it's 2025. Craziness. um, and so, realizing that you have to be your own cheerleader and your own agent kind of thing to really get what you deserve,
Yeah. Do you believe you undervalue yourself?
I do. I do all the time. And that's probably just a way to make myself feel better when I don't get paid well, So it's like, it is what it is.
Yeah. And I'm sure that's something a lot of artists struggle with, right? Is especially, I don't, were you someone that you had a lot of encouragement as a musician?
Yeah, I think so. Mum and dad and everybody, my sisters and everything, they all came out to the open mics and all that to cheer me on, sort of thing. And I think when I started taking my guitar to school in high school and playing during lunch breaks and everything, it was like, oh, he is a musician, even before I really knew what the hell I was doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there was a lot of encouragement there. Most of the discouragement or the negative talk came from myself or my perceived thoughts of other people, But that also served as a motivator, So I'd go out and I'd play a show and I'd be the one tearing it apart. Everybody tells me, oh, that was fantastic, brilliant. I'm like, okay, thank you very much. But then in the back of my mind, I'm like, I got to do this, and this.
Yeah, critical of yourself.
Yeah, so I go home and I get stuck in and work on it, and then and that was a repeating thing every time I do that, and I think it helps, but you do have to be kinder to yourself than you think you do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it had held you back at any points, your negative self-talk?
Only I don't think I would have been any further along, or if I hadn't talked like that to myself. I think only in the creative process has it really been a problem.
Interesting.
The fact that we recorded the album 3 times before we put it out.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't good enough. Because I can do better. I know we can do better.
What's your star sign?
Libra.
It's a classic Virgo thing.
I have 3 Virgo siblings. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I don't think it has held me back. It just might have been a more enjoyable ride. Yeah, I know that's
such a. I struggle with the exact same thing. It's such a frustrating balance because you want it to be perfect.
Yeah.
But you also like, yeah, it is just so hard on you and like the album that we're doing at the moment. I think we've pre-pro'd it like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
It's kind of getting to the point where it's frustrating and causing tension.
Yeah.
In the band,
yeah,
because of how many times we've gone, let's like, and there's so many different things that you can blame it on as to what's happened, like having people who like just having to record it out of necessity because something's happened to a file or this has happened, and then there's so many reasons. But it's like, well, if we just committed to getting in the studio and doing it 6 months ago, it'd be done.
Yeah. And there's something to be said about letting go as well.
Absolutely.
Letting go to see, we worked with someone initially and did not see any results from that. It was like a free school assignment type thing.
Yeah.
And we were their project, and we didn't get anything out of that. Nothing. We never got anything back really. So we decided to do it ourselves, sort of thing. And then when you're doing it yourself, working on it every day, looking at it under a microscope, you become very attached to it. And you either need to let go, as in let go of control, and let somebody else with more knowledge and more experience in whatever area take over, which is a hard thing to do, or let go of your view of how your art should sound, of how your music should sound.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to do.
Absolutely.
You know?
I've connected a couple of things that you've said it's really reminded me of a certain way that I've felt all throughout my artist journey that you might resonate with. And it ties into that as well, is that there's so many different times throughout the journey where I feel like it was the people around me that were leading to my success and not myself. So I remember when I was in high school, I had I didn't see myself as a singer. So we had a singer and we wrote a song and people were like, you guys are, you're doing so well. We were 16, whatever. But I contributed all that success to the singer. Yeah. And when he left, I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? Everything's fucked. And then I had another project, there were people in that band, they left and it was like, oh no, they were so musically gifted. What are we going to do? Same thing happened. It's kept happening.
Yeah.
And where this is going is every single time that's happened, I've been reminded that no, it's me. I am the one that is like, for lack of a better way to put this, like I'm the one controlling my own journey. Yeah. And I've got the ability and I've got the power to be in control of that journey.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really hard to remember that sometimes because we get so caught up on other people and we're not going to be as good as we used to be because we don't have access to those people anymore. And I feel like that can be a pretty destructive thought pattern.
Yep.
And I've had to remind myself many times to just trust me and trust myself.
Yeah.
Which is what brings me to that. Like, I think that ties into doing things over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Because you don't trust yourself and you don't trust your ability sometimes.
Yeah, that can be. Sometimes you do have to remind yourself. I don't always looking back on things that I've done, because I always know that something better's around the corner.
Yeah.
The next thing. But sometimes you do have to look back and be like, oh, okay, hey, that was pretty cool.
Exactly.
I did that,
Yeah.
But having said that, I do like what you were saying about trusting yourself, trusting your choices as well, and trusting the people you are around is very important, and surrounding yourself with people that you know are going to be on your side.
Yeah.
So Caravan, for example, we had our first bass player, Kane. We were together for ages. We played so many shows. He left. We brought in our next bass player, Max. And it was strange when that happened because it made us focus a little bit, because with Kane we had worked on all these years of material, of covers especially, because we used to do these car shows out in Woodford, and we would be there. The first one I think was from 2 till 10, and it was just us. Yeah. Eight sets. We didn't repeat a song. And then the next one was from 12 till 12. And with that one, we had another artist that we were sharing the stage with. But that was still 6 hours of music sort of thing. And then you look at this giant library of covers, and all of a sudden that person is gone, and you have to bring someone else in. And then it's like, okay, now that amount comes down to here because we don't have years to work these out with this person. So it's like, get rid of these. These are what we do now. And then Max continued on his own journey, and we brought in Stuart Baines and Ben McKinley. Now we're a 4-piece. Yeah. And it's like those covers then became this. But then now that we have this 4-piece, it's almost like our ability opens up again. So it's interesting with each new person that you bring in, you may lose something. You may lose that you feel like their ability and feel like you can't get back to that place, but you gain so much as well. You gain so much of their ability, and you really have to trust them, trust yourself, and trust them. When I used to go to jams, I used to walk the line between assuming someone could do everything and assuming someone could do nothing. Because when you walk up to a jam with no charts, and you say, this is what we're going to do, you have to be like, okay, I know you're going to get this. If it's a 12 bar, I know you're going to get it, sort of thing. Yeah. Or but then also playing it so safe because you don't know the other person's ability, you know? And so that's a very hard line to walk. But in a band situation, you have a bit more time to figure out, and that's a very exciting thing. I'm going to talk about Stu for a second because Stu is incredible. He's the keyboardist for the Midnight Sound Machine. He is the rhythm guitarist and occasional bass player for Caravan, and he also drums with this other side project called the RVs. And every time he does something new, I'm like, it just blows my mind, and I think, wow, what else is he hiding in there, you know? And I want to find out. And one of my favorite things with musicians and people in general is watching them evolve, becoming their higher self, I think. And I feel like I'm watching myself do that, but in slow-mo. I guess it takes me longer to realize what I'm watching, sort of thing.
Guess that's the same as when you watch a kid grow up. Right? You don't notice if they're your child. Yeah, you're going to notice because every day you see them. Yeah. But that great auntie that only saw him 2 years ago meets him and goes, "Oh my God, what happened?
Yeah,
You were this small."
So I love watching that. I love watching that with my bandmates. I love watching it with other bands when I see them and just being like, wow, you guys have come so far. It's incredible. It's just a pleasure to watch that. You know?
And it's crazy how just, I guess it's like relationships, right? When you're in a relationship with someone and you love them and you're like, oh my God, this relationship's so good. Normally, for most people, as long as you know, are good at talking to the opposite sex or the same sex, depending, is when that relationship ends, you go, oh no, like I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. This sucks. And then 12 to 24 months later, 6 months later, 3 years later, you go, oh my God, this relationship is like, I've never felt anything like this before. You always grow and you always evolve and you always find what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Just in the moment, it's so, like, have you had that before? Have you had that crisis of like, my journey as a musician is ruined because this person's not my life anymore?
Somewhat, but I feel like the goal has always been there, that it's just like, you just grab the next one, you chuck them on and you keep going, kind of thing. It's like, I don't want to sound insensitive because interpersonal relationships are so important in music and in finding sound, but sometimes it can be as simple as changing a tire.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
So
yeah. And for some reason, and this is just something I'm kind of unpacking myself, is I like went, oh no, I really needed that tire. But I've learned more recently that I'm the driver.
Yeah.
I just, exactly that. I'm driving. I can just chuck another tire on.
Yeah. And it's these are people we're talking about. So, you know, it's much more complicated than that, but it's like, we got to get there. I'm going this way. You're on this journey. You're on this wagon, you know, like we gotta chuck it back on and keep going, kind of thing.
That's great. Sounds like you've got a lot of certainty as to where you're going.
And it's not necessarily a goal or an end place. It's just, we're doing this. This is what's happening.
Yeah.
We're playing gigs, and that's all that there is.
I love it. And what's this for you? What is this apart from like gigs?
It's just,
where are we going?
That's the thing. I don't have a destination. I'm just, I don't know, man. I don't know where I'm going, but all I know is I'm on my way. You know, whatever.
I love it. There's a really good analogy that I use all the time, and I use it for teaching, because I do a lot of work in sales teams and teaching culture, and talking about the bus analogy is you got to make sure that you've got people on the bus that you want to, like, you got to make sure the right people are on the bus.
Yeah.
And with sales, it's everyone's got to buy that ticket on the bus, right? But with music and being a musician, that's also, you know, people have to buy that ticket on the bus because they've got to be putting in the effort.
Yeah.
They've got to be practicing. They've got to be learning their songs.
Yeah.
You don't want someone rocking up to a rehearsal and they're like, oh, did you learn the songs? Nah. Like, you kick that person off the bus, right?
Yeah.
So you got to make sure people are buying that ticket, but you've also got to make sure that those people on the bus are people that want to be there for the journey, not just the goal.
Yeah.
Because if they are on the bus because you tell them, oh, we're gonna do this. You know, our band that we're creating, we're gonna get a Grammy. We're gonna do this. It's gonna be incredible. If it goes 6, 12 months and you haven't gotten to that destination, people on that bus are going to be pretty quickly like, where's this bus going?
Yeah, that's true.
I thought we were going over there, but
That's true.
we're going in that direction. What's going on?
Yeah.
And you quickly lose people.
Yeah.
And to your point, if you've just got people on the bus that are happy to be on the bus and they don't really care where the bus is going,
Yep.
but they know they want to be on it
Yep.
and they're buying a ticket every day,
Yeah, yeah.
that's huge.
It's more like a cross-country journey than it is a race to anywhere.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you want to see what you can find along the way. Because I've met people who are they like the idea of being in a band. They love the image, but they don't necessarily want to put in the work.
Yeah.
Or know how to put in the work or what it actually entails. And to be fair, I didn't know what it entailed either. I just knew I liked playing guitar. And same with you, I didn't want to be a singer.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I started going to these jams and they're like, oh, you got to sing. And then it's like, oh, okay. And then it took me years to find my voice kind of thing. And then, yeah, finding the joy in that and working out how to do that I realized what it is to be a musician, you know? And I used to think that, and I feel like a lot of people thought this, when you hit 30, it's like, what's the point anymore? You know?
Yeah.
And then I started playing with people in their 60s, you know, and sort of just relied on their knowledge and everything like that. But then when I got into the club scene and you know, started playing with people my own age, 18-year-old sort of thing, it's like you feel like you have this very limited window. And now I'm 29, I'm still enjoying it, you know, and I play with people like Matt Rodriguez, who's a couple of years older than me, and see how much joy he still gets. Andrew Stockdale, for example, and he's 20 years older than me still. Obviously, he's had a lot of his success, but he's still enjoying it. And then the band Rhino, you know, yeah, they're much older than me as well. They're still doing it, still enjoying it, still playing on these great stages and everything like that. And so I take a lot of comfort in that as well, that it's like, you know, so what? You know, that I'm going to turn 30. So what that our music has barely made it out of Brisbane, you know?
Absolutely.
So what?
I agree. I feel like there is a crisis as an artist, specifically a musician, at that 25 mark.
Yeah.
Is that where you felt it?
I think so. But
Yeah.
I was also 25 when COVID hit,
Yeah.
you know? So it's like, oh, maybe I won't get to play a gig again. And then when gigs came back, I was getting booked as a solo artist.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't dance. So they just brought in solo musicians so there'd be less beat, I guess. And I hate playing solo. I'm only as good as the people behind me, as far as I'm concerned. Not to harken back to our point before.
Yeah.
Not to say I don't have the ability to do things, but it's like I like the interaction between
Absolutely.
people. But that time sort of gave us time to reflect as well. I was very lucky to share lockdown with my fiance, so I mean, I wasn't too worried about it, really. And then when it all came back, it was just, you just kind of had to reevaluate a little bit. I don't think it was a crisis so much as it was like, well, I've had some time to rest now. How do we keep doing this? And it was right when we got back into gigging that we lost our original bass player. So then it was really like, okay, now we've got a chance to people are coming back. Do we just want to be the same old Caravan? You know, do we want to do something new? And for the most part, it was just do same old Caravan.
Yeah.
You know. So, yeah, I don't think it was a crisis so much, but it still feels like yesterday, you know, that happened. But that was 5 years ago, really, that all happened.
Yeah. I think it's got a bit to do with just what the story normally looks like for bands. That, you know, you look at Nirvana, you look at Pearl Jam, you look at AC/DC even, all of these great bands, like there's this idea that there's a clock on you and you've got till you're, you know, 40 to work it out, 30 even, mid-20s in some cases.
Yeah, it depends, genre depending as well.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah, pop obviously the worst. And then the further out you get, the more it's like, oh shit. Well, if you don't make it if you're not famous by the time you're 25, you know, you're not going to make the 26 club, 27 club.
27. Yeah.
You miss that boat. And you do get that little bit of like, you just compare yourself.
Yeah, and it's very hard not to, especially when it's put this close to your face.
Yeah.
Look at everything that we're doing. Look at everything that look how good we are.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And I feel that is, it's just part of the game now, unfortunately. But it is, it can be very harmful, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That comparison.
If you use it as fuel, it can be great. Just as long as you don't drown in it, you know?
Yeah.
Because to keep that fire going, you know, you still got to look back to why you started again, you know? So, but where were we going with that? I forgot.
Who cares?
It's no destination.
No destination. Don't, and that's the comparison thing. I think comes into that really quickly, right? Because if you compare yourself too much to other people, it's very easy to go, I haven't hit success yet. They got successful at 19. My life is fucked. The end. I'm gonna give up and I'm gonna go become an accountant.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, what's your day to day look like?
My day to day?
Apart from music, what do you do?
Just music. Basically.
Yeah.
Well, occasionally I'll do some freelance stuff. Like I did some work for Brisbane Festival this year.
Doing sound?
No, doing ground transport. So driving people around. And I've also done like project management stuff for another, like usually just festival type stuff. But other than that, it's really
Just
music.
all in on music.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And between Caravan and the Midnight Sound Machine and some other projects here and there and freelance stuff, it's I'm gigging every week pretty much. So it keeps me going.
Cool.
Yeah.
And so is there a scary thought? Is there a fear of, if I don't hit X amount of success by a certain period of time, I need to look at doing something else?
I don't know. I've got a nice little niche carved out for myself at the moment that it'll always be there in one way or another. You know, I think being a creative and being a musician is once you are, you always are. You know what I mean? Even if you're driving a bus or you're an accountant, like you said, you're still a musician in your head. You're still driving along, tapping the beat out, sort of thing. You know, it doesn't really change. So, yeah, I don't worry too much about that.
I love it. And what do you feel? Because obviously that is something people worry about because they do that. Yeah, they become an accountant, they become a bus driver, they give up on being a musician.
Yep.
Because there's this pressure of do something that is secure and safe.
Yep.
Are you not like that?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I just know it's going to be fine, one way or another.
How?
Just this feeling. It's going to be okay. You know, if we never sold another T-shirt or another CD, that would suck. If I never played another gig, that would suck. But I'll always be the musician. You know, I'll always have the guitars hanging up, and that's okay. You know.
Do you know what you would do if you weren't a musician?
I don't know, man. I've been a referee. I've played football. I've been a Domino's driver. I went to uni to be a teacher for a while. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is and that's probably where your certainty comes from, I'd imagine, right?
Probably.
Maybe. Like your certainty of, I am certain that I'm going to make this work is because my assumption, I guess, is that you haven't found anything else in your life that you're as passionate about.
I think so. Everything else, it's just, I hated it, or I just did not get joy out of it. And even on the bad days, and you're dealing with whether agents and like booking agents and bar staff and punters at the clubs and interpersonal things with band members and stuff, it's still worth it for that time on stage. It doesn't really it doesn't really matter. You know, it's all that's the most peace and quiet I get. It's when
Love it.
I'm doing that, and I'm peace of mind.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Is that the part that lights you up the most, being on stage?
Yeah, yeah. I think performing is as much of an art form as writing and, you know, all that stuff and the technical ability that goes into it. The stage is sort of a sacred space, whether you're at Suncorp Stadium or whether you're standing on a barrel in your mate's backyard or something like that. It's the stage. It's the same thing, you know. Whether you're playing to 5 people or 500 people, it's that same area, and you should treat it as such, you know. Like, nothing against shoegaze artists and everything like that, but I don't engage with people that don't engage with me. You know what I mean? As a performer, that is. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen Caravan, but we try to be energetic. We try to get out there and make it as visually engaging as possible, because that is as important. I see us so much more of as a live band than as a recording artist or whatever, because after all this time, you know, we put out like 3 singles, 1 album, and a live EP, and we've been together almost 9 years at this point, sort of thing. So I feel like, yeah, our product and our art is so much in the performance side of things. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. It does. So the performance is the most, like, would you be a musician if you could never be on stage again?
Okay. Yeah. I think so. I just probably wouldn't be as fulfilled, you know, or I'd just go sit on a street corner and busk or something like that. You know?
Yeah. No, you're not allowed to do that either.
Hey?
You can't do that either.
Oh, well, I don't know, man. I don't know. I'll probably just sit at home and watch old videos of me or something. I don't know. But it doesn't change who you are as a person, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I find that really interesting because I'm similar. Performing was always the thing that I loved. What I've found more love in at the moment, and I'm finding it more fulfilling at the moment too, is the songwriting side of it. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
I used to be very much performance.
Yep.
And now I'm songwriting, because songwriting, I can do it alone.
Yeah. Okay.
I can feel that fulfillment alone.
Right.
Which is really interesting. And I never would have thought that. But there's something about songwriting, to me, feels like you're doing a 10,000, 20,000 piece puzzle.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've got all the rhythms, all of the words, and all like syllables that you can play with.
Yeah.
And your job is to put it all together.
Yeah. I can. Yeah. I don't know. It's like I have to be in a mood to songwrite, I guess. Or the best things are spontaneous. The best songs I've ever written have just been, they've come in a moment kind of thing. Or at least, if not the whole thing in a moment, at least just that spark that came in a moment and I wasn't grinding at it. I think that's why I like performing, because it's spontaneous.
Yeah.
You know, an array of things can go wrong, but you know, you're the one in control of that.
Absolutely.
And much like you're the one in control of songwriting, it can be a very daunting task to me, because there's so many different ways you can go. See, I believe that every song is already written. I don't always know what the right words are. I know what the wrong words are. You know, so if it's like I'm going down that way, no, that's not it. And it can be a very draining task for me to find that. You know, I don't find it as peaceful as playing on stage.
Is it frustrating?
It can be very frustrating, yeah. Especially when it's like, how do I get what's here out here? You know, or it's like convincing yourself that you haven't ripped somebody off or something like that. Especially if it's a really good hook or something like that, and it's like, some other bastard has written that. I know they have, and I'm just passing it off as my own sort of thing. It's enjoyable when it starts to flow and starts to write itself, but until that moment, I find it very, very difficult, very draining.
You got to embrace I've learnt to embrace that, and the reason I've learnt to embrace that is because I put myself in that situation enough times.
That's good.
But I completely agree. Exactly how you feel was my opinion when I thought performing was the best part of being a musician.
Yeah.
we go to the cabin. When we go to the cabin and we have songwriting sessions, which we've done, like it's taken a year to write 12 songs. And there were just like entire days of just wanting to smack your head through a wall with that frustration.
Yep.
But why it was so worth it was because we had seen success with it.
Yep.
We were listening and we were going, oh, that song that that frustration. And then all of a sudden something just clicked and this awesome, incredible song just popped out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it brings me back to the opportunity thing is you've got to put yourself in a space to create opportunity.
Yeah.
And I get so frustrated with myself every single day that I'm not writing music because I'm that hit song or that song that could be my favorite and the song that I'm the most proud of. Maybe I could have written that last week if I put the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I gotcha.
And it's so funny. There's something about learning to love the frustration and showing up for that frustration every day.
Yeah.
Because there are moments that come out of that frustration that make you tougher. Same as going to the gym. Going to the gym's hard, but you go to the gym because of what you look like.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah. For sure. See, I feel like I need to fill my cup with inspiration before I have anything to give anyone else.
It's such an interesting.
You know?
Yeah.
And some of the best songs I've written have just been after a long day of doing something, whether it's I'm out on a hike or I'm in the city or I'm seeing people and then I haven't been able to pick up the guitar all day or something. And then I come home and I pick it up and the first thing I play is just whether or not it matches the mood of that day or whether it's just something, but it's almost like that denial and being distracted. It's distracted, but it's also inspired, you know.
It's crazy how that works.
I know, right? So then when you get to that point, it can all just release.
It's crazy, yeah. And to that point as well that I made of you got to embrace frustration, you got to sit there and write songs. The counter to that is if you're constantly frustrating yourself, constantly pushing, and let's say I went to the cabin and I just lived there for 6 months, I'd run out of things to write about.
Yeah, for sure.
I'd lose inspiration.
For sure.
It's coming home and having that fight or losing that relative or, you know, watching your cat pass away.
Yeah.
That's where the inspiration comes from, that when you do pick up that guitar.
Yeah, exactly.
There's something to say.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, you got to edge yourself.
That's it. It's all about edging.
Jesus Christ.
Sick. Well, this has been an hour. It's been a pretty quick hour.
All right.
I love it. And in terms of like, what's anything coming up with Caravan or?
Well, we ourselves took a page out of Patient Lounge's book recently. We booked a country hall for a weekend. And we went out and we had a songwriting session. So we got some gems out of that.
Sick.
So we're going to try to start recording that soon. And we're about to have a meeting and just so we can talk about deadlines. And just because I sat around last year saying, yeah, we'll get something out by the end of the year. And then it just didn't happen because we didn't do it. So we're going to get together soon to make sure we have goals for this year and meet them as best we can.
Yeah,
You know,
that's sick. How good's just getting away?
It's nice, man.
It's the best.
Yeah, it's very good.
If I never want to stop doing that. And it's so funny because me and Matt kind of clash on this because Matt is very much like you. Matt just wants to get on stage and perform. And if I've got the option of going and playing on a show or going to the cabin with where my head's at, I'll pick the cabin.
Yeah, right.
Which is really interesting.
It is, man. It is.
And just and it comes from there's a whole reason as to why I won't go into it, but yeah, I just feel so fulfilled and so full of joy creating the music.
Yeah.
And I can just tell Matt's a complete opposite. I can tell he is hating that, and he just wants to get on stage and play those gigs. It's really funny to just.
I think you need a bit of both.
You do. You absolutely do. Because you spend all this time, and this is Matt's issue, which I completely get. We spent all this time creating this, and now, like, the whole point was to do that so you could do this.
Yeah.
You know?
See, Matt and I work together in the Midnight Sound Machine, and that's just on stage.
Yeah.
That's all it is. So
Yeah.
that's the only situation I really know him in. You know, I've never tried to write with him before, and so I see that joy in him on stage as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing of you mentioned it before as well, getting different people and bringing them together. Is I love what Matt has been able to do for our sound, and is getting us to where we need. Like, I don't know, it's just fun, and
Yeah.
you just take people that you like.
Yeah,
That's the most important thing. Get people that you enjoy the bus ride with. Decide to go on a journey together, and it's like, as long as you just keep grinding it out,
Yeah.
you're gonna write good stuff together.
Now I know we're reaching the end of our time, but have just quick thought. Have you ever considered a band like a football team? You know,
I've
and see, like, have you seen yourself as the coach or the captain kind of thing? You know, because I often,
sure.
I often feel that way.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to the grinding and the gig circuit kind of thing, and songwriting and rehearsal is like training sort of thing. But I find a lot of, maybe it's just because I played a lot of football coming up, but again, you want people on your team that are gonna show up every day, and even if you have to bench them for a little while, and bring somebody else in, it's always, as long as you have that goal,
It's the most important part. You want people that are going to show up every day.
Yes, exactly.
I completely agree. That's it. That is the most important part. And if they show up every day and not a neghead, you enjoy spending time with them. They're not someone who takes away from your energy. They add to your energy.
Yeah.
They make you feel good. You can have a laugh with them. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares what else happens?
Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Andrew. Appreciate it, brother.
Anytime, man.
And the guys will check you out on Caravan.
Caravan, Caravan Band AUS on Instagram and all that, or the Midnight Sound Machine if you like your soul and R&B and all that, and that's where you'll see your bandmates.
Absolutely. They stole them from me.
Excuse me.
And maybe I stole them from them.
I don't know. There was a bit of a, I don't know.
Yeah.